Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and I have Mr. Jed MacKay, one of the, I don't know, you've been impressing the hell out of me as of late.
Oh,
With
thank
a
you.
lot, of course, with a lot of the stuff that you've been doing. You're currently writing Moon Knight, which is kind of a big deal right now.
It's having a moment, yeah.
Um, so let's see, how long have you been writing comic books now,
Uh, I mean,
altogether?
yeah, like all together. I mean, I was doing, like, I was working on comic stuff that, didn't really go anywhere. Like, my friend Sheldon and I were making comics back in, like, 2005, 2006. Um, we kind of, work on and off. But my first Marvel stuff, or well, also coincidentally, my first paid stuff was 2010. So I did an 8-page story for X-Men Serve and Protect #4. So that was my first Marvel work. And then from about 2010 to 2018, I did 16 pages in total. So it was very, very slow going at first.
But in that time period, you did create Spider-Punk.
Well, didn't create him because he came from issue that Dan Slott had written. But at that point in time, he just kind of was there. He didn't have a background, didn't have like a backstory or anything. So my second 8-page short in 2014, 2015, I think. Nick Lowe, the Spider-Man editor, said, "We've got this character. We don't know anything about him. We don't know anything about the world he comes from or anything like that. Do you guys want to do 8 pages and kind of fill that in?" So that's what we did. We made him Hobie Brown. We put him in Earth 138. We had him fight Norman Osborn, and that was kind of really filling in the blanks on the character. Giving him a backstory and a secret identity.
That's always it's always wild to me the way that Marvel itself works. Somebody draws a picture, somebody gives a name, and then they're creators, but the person who does the backstory, no credit.
I mean, it
Honorable
is what
mention, geez.
it is what it is. I'm not, my feelings aren't hurt over it, uh,
It's all good.
but yeah,
It's
it's we got to plant our flag and make our stamp on the character. So
sorry, I had to get rid of that stupid background.
that's fine.
Hey, you can see my toy room.
Ah, there you go.
It's kind of cool. I'm saying, look at that. I got all the creators of the Infinity Gauntlet on the signing that one,
Oh,
including
nice.
Mr. Perez. Who
Wow, that's
have you ever
pretty
had the
good.
chance to meet him?
No, I've not. I've not been to too many conventions and shows and stuff. So
That's a shame. He kissed me.
yeah. Oh well, there you go. I mean,
He's literally one of the nicest guys in the world. I'm saying
I met you. I didn't kiss you, so I guess he's already got one up on me.
this is true. This is true. You're. I was going to say you're one of the nicest guys in the world, but my wife is there. I understand.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to make that drive home awkward.
um, and most of the guys know I'm 6'5", and you're like what, 6'5" and 2 centimeters?
Yeah, I mean, it must have been.
Maybe I'm shrinking in my old
Yeah.
age.
in your dotage.
Say it again.
Said in your dotage.
Dotage. There you
Yeah.
go. I'll just go up into space and orbit for ISS for a month or so, and my
Yeah, there you
spine
go.
will elongate for a little while.
That'll
So,
stretch you right out.
so okay. Um, Here are some of the questions that I have. Actually, so you've done the Death of Doctor Strange. We talked
Mhm.
about that a little bit, but the people watching, they weren't there for that. So how did that come about? Because you were already writing Black Cat, and you in the very first couple of issues, you had her have an interaction with Doctor Strange, more specifically the snakes, which I told you I almost fell out of my chair. I was laughing so hard
Yeah,
at
the
that
snakes are great.
interaction. That's when I really took notice. I'm like, who the hell is this guy again who wrote this stuff? This was funny.
Yeah, so we had yeah, that was the first kind of big job we did in Black Cat. They ripped off the Sanctum Sanctorum. Then later, after the COVID hiatus, we came back with another #1 for Black Cat and for King of Black. And one of the kind of hanging plot lines that was in the King of Black crossover is that Doctor Strange had been imprisoned, and there were no like set plans as to how to get him out. So Nick, my editor, laid claim to that right away. He's like, "No, we're going to do that in Black Cat." And he's like, "What do you think?" I'm like, "That's great because we can have Felicia steal something in order to be part of the fight against Null and the whole King of Black stuff. And what she's going to steal is Doctor Strange. So I was working on that, and Taskmaster had finished, so I needed another job. And I was like, well, I like Doctor Strange. I'm writing Doctor Strange in this thing. That's a lot of fun. I like bats and the snakes and the whole shebang. So I emailed Darren Shan because I noticed there was no Doctor Strange book, and there's no Doctor Strange book announced or solicited. So I emailed Darren Shan, who's the Doctor Strange editor. I'm like, hey, can I write Doctor Strange? He's like, sure. I was like, oh, okay, shit, that's easy. Then he says, we're going to kill him, and you can do it. I was like, oh, okay, that's not what I expected. So yeah, like the Marvel editorial, they had some plans to kill Doctor Strange. They wanted to do the death of Doctor Strange, and I was the guy that brought in to wield the knife.
That's awesome. But you're also writing today. You got 3 comic books out, right?
Yep.
So Magic the Gathering,
number 13, yeah.
Which I haven't been reading, but now I'm thinking about reading.
Yeah.
You've got Doctor Strange number 2, which is Clea Strange.
Yeah, it's just Strange, but yeah,
just Strange.
Strange number 2.
Okay, yeah, I read it. It was good. I'm a little worried about you writing Doctor Strange, or excuse me, Doctor Doom. He's ever since out. Have you ever read a Marvel graphic novel? I think it's number 50. Doctor Strange and Doctor Doom, Tyrants and Torment. So you read that?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. My absolute favorite. Like, I see Doctor Doom now, and everything's put on that level, that Roger Stern level, where it's like, no, don't disrespect that book, and we're good. But so I'm a little nervous about that. But everything else, I'm genuinely in my heart, I'm loving what you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
I love Marvel had a bit of a controversy. I'm going to get a little British accent on that one. Bit of a controversy with the it seemed like every character, I think it was like 5 years ago, was being substituted with somebody else, like the legacy characters they started calling them. And that was a weird time because none of our characters were our characters anymore. Everybody was somebody different. And if it was in 1 or 2 books, probably wouldn't have been a big deal. This was like, dude, where are my characters at this point? So this is one of those books. It shows that it's good, and you did it in a very intelligent way. If somebody's going to replace Doctor Strange, why not his wife, right? I mean, Rinterer probably would have been a good option too, but
Yeah, because nobody puts asses in seats like Rinterer.
But I love your wit on it. But no, I love what you're doing with it. I don't want to spoil this issue, but what happens at the end with the art, I looked and I said, oh yeah, this is going to be really interesting. Issue number 3. So I'm genuinely looking forward to that. So many ideas. And Strange lately has had Jason Aaron, Donnie Cates, a whole bunch of people have been writing some really good Doctor Strange stuff lately. Why am I forgetting? He just left his Nick
Mark Waid was doing Strange.
Mark Waid did
Death of Doctor Strange.
It's a good Strange too. No, who just got off of Spider-Man?
Nick Spencer.
Nick Spencer, thank you. Another extremely nice person to meet in person. He had the great run, The Damnation, and a really great storyline for him that he did with Cates. It was fantastic. So I was thinking to myself, you're in with some really big names who have done, big name is one thing, but who have had some really fantastic ideas for Doctor Strange.
Yeah, for sure.
And just in 2 issues, really 1 issue, but 2 issues, you've got me like, okay, you're up there. Absolutely no doubt.
I'm glad to hear it.
I don't want to pat your back too much because there's an old Chinese proverb: the poison is in the compliment.
Yeah.
But are you familiar with it?
No, but I'm just agreeing with you.
That's fine. So you're the one who did the Taskmaster 5-issue series?
Yep.
So I'm good. I read those.
Alessandro Vitti.
Yeah. I read those. I reviewed them. I remember the first issue. I don't know. There was a time when I wasn't that into comic books, even though I did a bunch of reviews and talked to a bunch of people. I don't know. I guess comic book overload, whatever it is. I'm sitting here looking at the first issue, and I thought, this is actually pretty good. All right, fine. I'll check out the second issue because I don't know. Taskmaster's kind of been sillified for a while. And the second issue, if I remember correctly, you had him fighting Hyperion.
Yeah.
And I thought this was actually really interesting. It's the perfect for anybody who knows the character of Hyperion, who's seen some of those old issues, who's paid respect to this, Squadron Supreme, Squadron Superior, Squadron Sinister. It was a really great way to defeat him, and it was perfect. And I thought, okay, this MacKay guy, he knows what the hell he's doing. He's read this stuff. I mean, how long have you been reading comic books for? Do you mind me asking your age?
30. Well, how long now? 38.
38. Don't worry. I forget my kids' names sometimes. No, I forget their birthdays.
I feel like
but not
every
their
time,
names.
I feel like since I cracked 35, I had to think to remember how old I am.
No worries. But yeah, so you've been reading comic books for a while to know the weaknesses of some of these characters.
Yeah, but also, I mean, it's all on the internet now, where it's
Mhm.
so much easier to do your research, compared to how it used to be back in the day, where you have to like have the books, or because like the Marvel fandom wiki is fantastic
You're
because
welcome.
no, thank you.
I'm number 92 on most contributors to that.
Oh, there you go. So yeah, I mean, I use it all day, every day. Usually have at least one, usually 3 tabs open at any given time, because that's where I get a lot of my information.
I actually don't for once, but I got Marvel Insider open. But
No, there you go.
no, yeah, no, that it's a fantastic site. Anybody who wants to go there and check it out,
Yeah,
it's
it's an amazing
free. But
resource.
yeah, we have moderators. I'm not even one of the moderators, and I got into an argument and actually had to show proofs that I remember my first time was that Wasp didn't have the bioorganic stingers, that originally they were devices
Right.
that shot something, and the guy actually said, "You're gonna have to show me proofs." So I had to find the pages and email them to him. He's like, "Okay, fine, we'll let you keep it in." Okay, good. I actually didn't know that. I'm like,
That's
wow,
funny.
they. It's not like a Wikipedia page.
No. And like when in an ordered list of appearances is huge.
Yes.
Yeah. The only thing I wish is if you could cross-reference appearances for 2 characters to see if they've ever met. That would be, oh, what a tool! What a tool that would be.
Huh. Well, I can consider it. I could talk to some people.
Yeah.
It's always great whenever I hear somebody, one of the writers at Marvel, because I don't do the DC stuff too much, but the Marvel stuff I've done a lot.
Yeah.
It's genuinely always great when I see stuff like that. Sorry, Raven, haven't seen you a long time in the chat. What's going on, brother? Anyway, okay, so yeah, I really liked the way that it ended, the Taskmaster stuff. Really good homage to the character. You had him have some funny moments. You didn't make him silly. Um, too much of I don't know, too much of comic books nowadays. I feel like it's making characters silly. It's making them overly like why are we here exactly?
I
Don't
mean,
make fun of my characters. I've loved these characters. I want my kids to like these characters.
yeah. I mean, the thing with Taskmaster is that he's a character that's interesting because he is a deeply silly character,
Mm.
but he is also extremely dangerous, and there is an amount of edge to him, and it's finding the balance between those two, because there's a deep well of absurdity in this character, in what he does, in how he looks and how he acts, but at the same time he's still alive. He's very good at what he does, and what he does is get beat up by Captain America, but still get paid and move on to the next contract.
That was only in Dan Slott's Siege issue number 3 or 4, something like that, I think.
Yeah, actually no, I was thinking of no, Captain America's beat up Taskmaster several times.
One-on-one? Maybe.
Yeah, it was in the Ta-Nehisi Coates Captain America most recently.
Oh, that's most recent. Okay. I admit to not reading. Captain America's my favorite character, but yeah, I'm here to talk about you.
Yeah, fair enough.
What's going on, man? Your name is Jed. Is that short for Jedediah?
It is.
Are you a Mennonite?
I am not.
Ah, I sat there. I thought about it. I'm like, I'll bet you.
I mean, it's a reasonable assumption based on the name, but no, I'm not.
Okay. I actually have this question later on, and it's going to be more in context, but if you could just trust me with this, do you have a religion?
Yeah.
That's it?
What? Yeah, what are you asking?
What's your religious denomination or whatever?
Christianity.
Okay. Any specific denomination or no?
No, not really.
So no comparative religious studies.
No, not really.
We're going to be talking about Moon Knight, and you've done some homework.
Oh, yeah, of course. But
okay. But nothing, no comparative religion classes, nothing like that?
Not really. No, I mean I've taken religion classes in university, but we're talking 20 years ago. So
Okay. If I saw correctly, I saw a CBC article. I can't remember the name of the person who did it. I had to restart my computer yesterday. PEI man, Prince Edward Island man,
Mhm.
gets a job working for Marvel. They said that you were working for a Muslim academy. You were teaching at a Muslim school. Did I
Yeah,
read that right?
yeah. I used to work at Maritime Muslim Academy here in Halifax, Nova Scotia.
What'd you teach?
What didn't I teach? It was a small school of, so I taught, see, English, social studies, computer art, gym, um, global history, African Canadian studies. Um, I think that's it for a range from grades 7 to 12. So
Nice,
it was really kind of all over the place.
nice, nice. I beat you though. I taught in Saudi Arabia.
Oh well, there you go. But, I
But
taught
yeah,
I taught in Korea and China, so I've been all over the place.
okay, fine. We'll even it that a little bit. Yeah, the I've noticed that Arabs have they have you teach a lot of classes. I added mechatronics to what you'd said, which is
Yeah,
just advanced Legos.
yeah, nice.
But all right, so I think the big deal right now is Moon Knight. You
Sure.
said you've been watching the episodes. Episode 2 just dropped today.
Yep.
How you liking the episode before we get into your book?
Yeah, it's fun. I like they're trying something different. A lot of times with superhero stuff, you think you're going to walk into it knowing everything that's going to happen already, given the amount of history these characters have, the amount of history that we have with these characters. So it's nice to be surprised, and I think they have a pretty unified vision of what they want to do. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes.
Nice. Yeah, one of the things I like about Feige's technically your boss, right?
I don't think so.
No? Oh, I always see him. I forget what he's classified as. I don't have any new comic books close to me.
I mean, he might be. I don't know. I
No,
haven't,
no
I haven't
worries.
been looking at the hierarchy. I thought he was mostly associated with the movie stuff, but he could be.
Gotcha. But I don't know. I like his vision, the idea that he gives just enough to the longtime fans that, we're good. We keep going. Um, how cool would it be if Moon Knight's powers were connected to the Dark Force, General Savage? Thank you for the dono. Um, be interesting. So, yeah, I like that there's just enough for us, but at the same time, just like you said, yeah, we are surprised at what's going to happen next.
Yeah,
It's interesting to see Stephen Grant not be some rich, pretentious personality. Instead, he's a very confused personality.
yeah. Because
So,
that's that when we hear Stephen Graham, we don't expect the sort of Dickensian waif to be rolling around confused. We expect someone who's genteel and like urbane and sophisticated. So already we're kind of put on the back foot, which I find it interesting.
and Oscar Isaacs, I think is his name. Kudos to this guy for pulling off an American and English accent, the
I mean,
Cockney English accent at that. Okay, so I'm reading Moon Knight, which issue number 10 just
mhm.
dropped today. Also, that's your third book that dropped today.
Yep,
So Magic the Gathering, issue number 13,
13. Yep.
Strange number 2, and now
Mhm.
issue number 10 of Moon Knight. Big day for you, big week.
I mean, all my April comics came out on the same day, so now I just kind of relax until May.
Nice. So some of the things that have happened so far. Moon Knight issue number 1 was it was interesting. It had just enough funny in it to not make me go, but at the same time there was so much else in there, and you could tell that it was a different vision. By issue number 2, it solidified the idea that you were going to pay attention to pretty much everything that had come before. Have you read everything Moon Knight before you started writing this?
Um, Excuse
If
me.
you said yes, I would believe you.
If not everything, most of it. I mean, a lot of stuff I went through fairly quickly, given that I had a limited amount of time to get this pitch together and figure out what I wanted to do. Between the time I got the email from Tom saying, "Hey, do you want to do Moon Knight? What do you got?" and to the time when I needed to send it in. So,
Brevoort, you're saying, right?
yeah, yeah.
And you
Um,
can't mess with Brevoort. The guy's got a Marvel memory like nobody's
oh no,
business.
yeah, you're not gonna. I'm not gonna pull one over on Tom. Um, so I was doing a pretty quick speed burn through a lot of Moon Knight stuff. Well, Moon Knight stuff I hadn't read before. Um, so yeah, I mean, a lot of it Stuff I would skip when I'm just like, I'm just not feeling this. I'm not interested. I'm just going to skip forward because I don't know if it's going to have any real bearing on what I want to do at this point in time. I'll go back to it later and see if there's anything that can be gleaned or something that can be learned from it. So I don't know if I've read every Moon Knight appearance, but I've certainly read a lot of it.
Yeah, you have read a lot. I saw you just recently put you had to do I don't know if don't be offended when I say this is just my vernacular, a filler issue because Moon Knight was himself in a what's the
Myrmidon.
Myrmidon?
That was the name of the prison Moon Knight was in.
Oh, I didn't even read that because I just been reading the Moon Knight comics and I forgot that there was the Devil's Reign. That's the name of the event that's happening right now. So I am going to go back and read that. But I've just been reading 1 through 10 of Moon Knight itself. So yeah, the filler issue with Hunter's Moon, a new character who you created. You get credit for this, right?
Yeah,
this one you get credit.
Yeah, me and Alessandro, we got that one.
Of course. And you brought back Stained Glass Scarlet, but with a twist.
Yeah.
And right away, I know I could be I wouldn't call it a gatekeeper, but I could be a bit anal retentive. And I'm like, bring back an old character. Okay, judgment. I'm going to judge hard. I'm going to judge real hard. And I was like, I'm actually cool with this. This was really good. So, yeah, one of the things that attracts me to your writing is that you have this really good way, much like what the compliment I gave to Kevin Feige. You have a way of giving just enough to the older fans who've been with these comic books for a long time to retain us, which is something that a lot of new writers, no names necessary, simply seem incapable of doing. It's like it's all new. You're giving me your vision and nothing but your vision, and I don't know you, but you give just enough that it feels like you're giving an homage. You're giving enough respect to the character itself, who we love. We're all a bunch of man children in some way, shape, or form or another, right?
Yeah.
Which makes me more interested in what you're saying. And I love that you have that, you just said before, the perfect balance. You found the fulcrum where it swings, where I want to stay on that side of the seesaw and see where you're going to take me,
Yeah. I mean, that's what we try to do, because I really like digging up, bringing up old characters and, brushing them off and seeing what, how much more mileage we can get out of them. It's something I enjoy doing, in Black Cat, and kind of carrying some of that idea forward in Moon Knight, where, we see characters we haven't seen for a while, and maybe we see how they've changed in the case of Stained Glass Scarlet, where, the thing with Moon Knight is he's a great character, does not have a great kind of rogues gallery because he keeps killing them. We're
the Punisher issue.
Yeah, for sure. Or look at Carson Knowles, the Black Spectre, who took a long fall off a tall building because of Moon Knight. So you get characters like Stained Glass Scarlet, who has comparatively few appearances. She appeared in 8 issues in total in Moon Knight's whole publication history, and she's by virtue of that, she's an iconic Moon Knight character. And that first Stained Glass Scarlet story was awesome. It was so good. It's just real. It was a real kind of mission statement for what they wanted Moon Knight to be in that first series. And, I thought that was really great. And then, her next appearance, I wasn't as big a fan of, and the whole Scarlet Redemption thing, but it kind of struck me this is a character I want to bring back into Moon Knight, because again, she's an iconic Moon Knight villain, but not even villain, antagonist, we'll say. But at the same time, I thought, there's got to be kind of something new to do with her, because I wasn't really sure, what can I do just with a lady with a crossbow and a head full of, odd ideas. And, it was Halloween, I think, when I was writing that. So that issue was a real Halloween story. And if I had my way, it would have come out in October. But obviously, publication schedules are publication schedules, and it just all kind of seemed to click. And I think that's my favorite issue in the series so far, because I really like the story, but it's also an issue where the art and the color are just firing on all cylinders, and it just looks like nothing else.
I'm off mute, right? I'm a little sick. Don't get too close. That's why I'm drinking a little tea right now. coughing a bit. I'm trying to read the comments also, guys, and I'm trying to grab things that are related. Somebody actually, it's Rocket Sauce says Jed's Black Cat is very underrated. Kind of wish he was taking over Amazing Spider-Man. Well, when it opens up.
Yeah, I mean, I've read the first issue of Zeb's new Spider-Man series, and I actually read the first 2 issues, and I don't know. I think people are going to like it. I think it's really cool. Zeb's a great writer, and you get J.R. drawing it, which is like, that's something else. So I think it's going to be interesting return to form for Spider-Man, but also bringing that kind of new voice to it. So I think people are going to like it.
Nice. Yeah, to go back to the stained glass Scarlet thing, I think it was Sienkiewicz who drew that issue. Okay, yeah. I talked to him once, and he referenced that. I forget who the writer was. He said his name, and it's just been so long. I did a lecture
of Moon Knight at the time.
Yeah,
Doug Mensch.
Mensch. I thought it was
I have
Munch.
no idea.
Whatever.
I only ever read these names.
No worries. It's from talking to these old guys that I always find out these names. I think I used to call him Sienkiewicz or something like that.
Oh,
and Jim Shooter was like, it's Sienkiewicz.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, my bad.
Yeah, there you go. Figured it out.
But yeah, no, that was actually supposed to be Stained Glass Scarlet was actually supposed to be around the John Lennon death. It was supposed to be like his way of making sense of it, with the assassinations and whatnot. Which,
well, that was the opening of that issue. Is Moon Knight cries while playing piano, thinking about John Lennon.
Yep.
And I was like, well, that's maybe not something that rings super true to me, but well, I'm sure at the time, I'm sure it was very timely.
Right. Okay, so I'm going to go over some of the cool things in case there's some knucklehead out there who's not reading Moon Knight. A couple little things, and feel free to jump in and comment.
Sure.
Moon Knight issue number 2. Moon Knight and Reese, who is a vampire, talking, sitting. She's drinking a bag of blood like it's a Capri Sun pack, and he's eating Chinese food. Details. I'm seeing this. They're not just sitting and talking, they're not walking and talking, they're sitting down and they're actually doing something. I know that by reading some of your interviews that you've done, you've talked about how you've written way too much, and people will look at it and say, I'm not drawing all this.
Yeah.
How long was the script for just that one scene, or that that one scene, however many panels was put together, that he's eating Chinese food, she's drinking
page?
Yeah.
Oh, it's I don't know, page and a half of script. Like, my script is pretty sparse. I'm usually not that prescriptive on how the art should be, because generally the artist knows a lot better than I do. So I don't as far as something like layouts and stuff like that goes, I generally just have the artist do what they want, because again, I'm not the artist, So I don't have the eye for it. So it'll be like, inside the Midnight Mission, Reese is drinking a bag of blood. Mr. Knight is eating, takeout food. That's basically it. Because it's something I like in comics when you see characters eat, because it grounds them, it makes them real in a way that is very simple and fast to understand. We don't need to hear them talking about their problems. We don't need to hear them elaborating on stuff like that, the real life problems. But if we see people eating, that's something that immediately makes them real. Because if you never see a character eat, then they seem less real, And Black Cat is something we had a lot of fun with, where they're just always just slamming food all the time. And, that's kind of a continuation of it in Moon Knight there.
Nice. Plus, I notice what they're eating sometimes. I know it seems like it's a small detail to some people, but when I see what they're eating, it says a lot about them also. Wolverine and Thor are going to be drinking beers all the time, right? Sure. Captain America will usually be eating something healthy. He doesn't need to, but it's his discipline, right? So Moon Knight eating some, fast food takeout really quick. It's like, okay, it says a lot about his character without saying anything about his character. It's that, implicit. It's like a suggestion, like Loki's whispering in your ear or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Later on, when Moon Knight defeats Hawley, he says Saleh, which is from Psalms in the Jewish literatures, the old, what we would call what non-Jews would call the Old Testament,
Yeah.
the Book of Psalms, written by David. See, I study comparative religions. Um, where did you get that idea from?
It was something I don't remember. It's just something that popped in my head while I was writing it. It would have been something I read at some point. Um, but I was like, well, that seems like the right thing to say, because I mean, you're not gonna say he's not gonna say amen. You know, he's Jewish. That's not really apropos. And I was like, well, that sounds familiar. So I went to look it up and try to look at the origin of the word, of the term, and how it's used. And I was like, well, it seems right. And yeah, that's where we went with that.
Yeah, it is like amen. It basically means like finished. And I saw
Yeah,
it, and I'm like, holy crap, where? Okay, interesting. So we're probably never going to see that character again, or he did tuck him away someplace, whatever. But
yeah. I mean, Leonard Hawley, yeah, he's not dead.
mm,
So, and I do like the character. I don't know when we're ever going to see him again, but I was just like, I wrote to Alexander, like, this dude's like real gross. He's really gross. He's picking his teeth. He's like balding, but he's got a ponytail. He's just real gnarly looking.
powers through his sweat.
Yeah, it's just real gross. So I think those are all my liner notes to Alessandro. I'm like, just make this really gross. Like, Mr. Knight licks a crescent dart covered in sweat. I was like, go really close on this so we can see how disgusting it is.
That's fantastic. You actually see the little drips.
Yeah, it's awful.
Issue number 3, Hunter's Moon. He mentions at one point that there are that what's the thing here? That there,
Even a man has two fists.
yeah, even a man has two fists. Why would you think that your God doesn't? Simple little things like that can be so profound sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was actually a Tom Brevoort save. My original pitch was I was going to have a whole bunch of fists of Khonshu from all over the world, and he's like, "No, that's stupid." But if you have two,
was he that blunt?
I don't think it was that blunt, but Brevoort, he's intent on getting things done. He's not going to spend a lot of time coddling your feelings, which that's fine. That's just how you get things done. But he's like, I don't think that's effective. I don't think that's going to work. But if you told me there was two fists of Khonshu, then I would be interested in that. I'm like, well, that actually makes a huge amount of sense. And that's where I got the line of, even a man has two fists. Why would a god limit himself to one? And it was just a much stronger idea, because like Hunter's Moon was one of those other fists of Khonshu that I had come out. I think I had like Hunter's Moon was the Egyptian one. There's like a Greek one. There's a whole thing. But so I stuck with Hunter's Moon because we should have an actually Egyptian fist of Khonshu. It would make a lot of sense.
And a doctor nonetheless.
Yeah. And that's again, you have more contrast between Mark Spector and Dr. Bader, where Mark Spector is a trained murderer, whereas Bader is a trained healer.
Okay. I'll try not to take offense that you're calling us military guys murderers, but I'm joking.
To be fair, he was. I'm not talking about just being in the military. I'm talking about his
his mercenary career after the Marines.
He used to work for Raoul Bushman.
This is true. This is true.
Mean,
the design idea for Hunter's Moon. It reminds me of Moon Knight's appearances in West Coast Avengers with the gold, plate around and whatnot.
Was that the Moon Knight Fist of Khonshu?
I think from that also, but I believe the first time I saw that was in the West Coast Avengers or Avengers
West Coast Avengers.
So whose idea was that?
That was Alessandro's. I did a terrible sketch of Hunter's Moon to kind of get the idea across. I sent Alessandro, and he replied with a fully realized polished design. I was like, oh shit, there you go. That's alchemy, lead to gold, dross to something valuable. So yeah, he just basically first shot. Actually, I think the only thing we were trying to figure out was colors, because he wanted to have the gold accents, and I think at the beginning he had a gold moon on his head and his chest, and that was the only thing we changed, because that would read as the sun, and that's not what we're looking for. But yeah, it was amazing. Now that I think about it, there were no notes, pretty much. There was no back and forth. Well, that's it. One take.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a talent.
Number 4, great comment, great quote. a suit or a shroud, both things dead men wear. And that's Mr. Knight talking about his mask to his
Mhm.
psychologist. Um, Fantastic. Again, that's just out of your head.
Yeah, that was when I was thinking about Moon Knight. That came to mind. I think I had it in the pitch because I was talking about how he's basically always going to be in costume. We don't see Mark Spector walking around with no mask on because he's a deeply alienated person. This is our way of showing that. And it just popped in my mind that a suit and a cape, it's like a shroud. And it's if you go like with the old kind of ancient Chinese definition of white as the color of death, it all kind of maps together.
Nice. They came to you and said, "Do you want to write Moon Knight?" Right?
Well, they came to me and said, we're going to make a Moon Knight book and we don't know what we want it to look like. Usually, they know what they want. So they'll talk directly to the person they want to do it and say, here's what we're thinking. What do you think? With Moon Knight, they weren't really sure what they were going to do, because it's not like we knew a lot about the show and we were going to like try to do the same thing. So instead, they had actually put that invitation out to several writers. I don't know who they were, but so it's a bit of a bake-off, it's a bit of a competition, because they just wanted to see what ideas were out there and which ones would be the strongest, or the most marketable or the most usable. So it was actually a couple rounds of revision before I realized I actually had the job. Until it's like, okay, well, you can write the first issue. I'm like, oh, great, cool. So I have the job. We're certain on that, are we? So yeah, that's where that came from.
How long did you ruminate on the idea of what you wanted to do for the pitch?
I think maybe a week. Because I had a lot of reading to catch up on, and so yeah, then it just kind of the concept was there from the get go. The Midnight Mission, because it's old school Marvel alliteration, and it's just, I thought it was a good framework for a series because it lends itself to a procedural framework as well, because it's just like I love 70s and 80s detective shows because it's the perfect framework. Someone comes in, they have a problem. Jim Rockford goes out and like drives his car around real fast and solves it. Someone dies, Lieutenant Columbo comes and busts some rich asshole for it. In the same way, if there's something strange in your neighborhood, you go to Mr. Knight and he'll sort it out for you.
Nice singing the lyrics to Ray Parker's Ghostbusters song, but that's something I wanted to get to later. I have to mentally cross that out now. Every single issue feels like its own story. Meanwhile, so much like a TV series, I don't watch a whole lot of TV, but I know when what's that one? Burn Notice. I used to love Burn Notice. You
Yeah,
watch
same
that?
idea.
Right.
I mean, that's why I like to Burn Notice so much, because if it had that great procedural format, but it also wasn't limited by it.
Every episode was its own episode. You could watch one episode and never watch any other episodes, not be lost, not worried about what's going to happen next, while at the same time, there's still just a couple moments devoted to the overall backstory, and that seems to be exactly what you're doing. There was always somebody in the background. We didn't know who it was, but Moon Knight, some itineration of him, had a mission to accomplish, and he was able to solve it in that issue. So are in your mind, are you still, because I could still see it as being a 6-issue arc, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't feel like you're writing necessarily in a 6-issue. It looks like you're writing issue by issue. That I could just pick up an issue and okay, there's something else going there, but you do a great job with the preamble, the what's it called, the forward page. You do a great job there, so I can say, oh,
well, actually, I don't write that, so I can't take
who
credit
does
for
that?
It. I think it's the associate editors, the assistant editors.
Get out of town.
Yeah, no, I don't write that at all.
Do writers ever write that?
I don't know. I'm not sure, to be honest.
But you've never.
I've never written one.
Interesting. Okay.
I mean, like I write the solicits for books that I do for Tom. So like I write the solicits for Moon Knight, but like I don't write the solicits for any of my other books. It's all just done by the editorial teams.
Fantastic. Well, hell.
So yeah,
whoever.
They do a great job getting that summed up.
Absolutely. And then you're just telling the story, and then boom, we move on.
Yeah.
And I could choose to read the next book or not,
Yeah.
which makes it so that when I read the next issue, I don't feel like I'm lost on anything. I could just move because like for those of us who are reading a lot of comic books,
Mhm.
it's like sometimes they jumble up once in a while. I saw with issue 2, case in point, which also came out today of Strange, there was an axe that Clea threw did a spell I don't think I've ever seen before of a whole bunch of swords going forward. One of those swords was an axe that
Sure.
had it looked like two crescent moons on it facing away from each other. I'm like, I wonder if that was done on purpose, an homage, something, whatever, who cares? But
I mean,
it,
if it wasn't for me, that'd be Marcelo doing his thing.
but yeah, little things like that. It makes me think because I thought in the beginning, oh yeah, there was that axe. No, wait, that wasn't in this book. Okay, never mind. So
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes the things in crossover get confusing for the reader, but yeah, Moon Knight is written in such a way. It's fantastic. I don't want to say it's perfect,
No,
but
thank you.
hey, issue number 5.
Heaven forbid.
Issue number 5. Another reason why I kept wanting to ask you what is your actually the next question was going to be what is your religion? Says my God took us out of slavery in Egypt. This is Mark Spector talking.
Mhm.
My new God kept me there. Great way of looking at it. Great way of tying it into this would be Exodus in
Mhm.
the Old Testament,
Yeah.
the Torah. And you even have it say, my God, G-D, because Orthodox Jews don't
Yeah.
want to spell the word God because it's disrespectful to God. And the whole thing is there.
Well, that's and also that specifically being a quotation.
I'm listening.
Well, that section where you take the O out, that is specifically done so because it is a quotation from jeepers, where is it from? Oh yeah, it was one of the commandments in just sort of the original way it goes. You shall have no other God before me because I'm your God, jealous God, etc.
Mm.
So that was formatted that way specifically because it was directly from holy text.
Okay. Uh, but my new God kept me there. So yeah, that part wasn't a direct quote from the
Yeah,
Bible,
yeah,
which that's why I was a little confused there. But yes, all right, fantastic. I see things like this. I'm just like, this guy must study religion, and the idea that you don't is wild. Here's
yeah.
some.
I mean, like the thing is, I did my homework.
Mhm.
It's certainly something I'm interested in looking into. But more importantly, after I wrote the script, I spoke to people who actually were Jewish who could, give me their opinions on it. Because I can do all the homework I want, I'm still not going to have that perspective of this character. I'm not going to have their shared background. So, I had some friends, Rich Duick, who today actually had a book come out, The Oceans Will Take Us. First issue's out today. Alex Packnadel, another Jewish writer from England, and they were kind to look over the script and tell me, this works, this doesn't work. This is not the right thing to say here. So any accuracy that you would have there is comes from getting sensitivity readers, getting people to look at something that you don't have the shared experience as the character. And if you want things to be accurate and to ring true, you kind of have to go to the source.
I didn't know Alex Packnadel was Jewish.
Yeah.
Huh. We've talked. It never came up. Oh my gosh. Okay. You have Moon Knight later on. Moon Knight. His first encounter that we've seen is with werewolves, Werewolf by Night
Mhm.
specifically. Mark Russell, I think it is.
Jack
Hunter's
Russell.
Jack Russell. Thank you. It was based off of the Jack Russell Terriers. That's why
Yeah,
they they use that.
it's quite the name.
Um, Hunter's Moon. His first origin story is with vampires.
Mm-hmm.
Universal horror reference there, or just happy coincidence?
Just a happy coincidence. It made sense to me that Khonshu would be against vampires because vampires are predators of the night. Khonshu is defender of those who travel at night, etc. And Hunter's Moon having a little more skin in the game than merely his orthodoxy and orthopraxy is he's got a personal grudge against vampires, which we later see is one of the reasons why he went so hard against the vampires under Moon Knight's protection, as we see in issue 6. And it just seemed like a way to tie things in a neat little bow.
Later on, also, Soldier. So one of your characters named
Mm-hmm.
Soldier, who I'm not going to reveal in case anybody hasn't read the series yet. I'm not going to wreck anything here. A soldier for somebody in the past says, "I'm your man for life, no matter what." Is that a Alexander Dumas, Count of Monte Cristo, Cristo quote?
Well, it's not directly, but it certainly influenced that because it's a great moment,
Yeah,
and in the books, in the movie, it's so convincing when you get it, it's great.
yeah.
So it's I don't know, I always had a really soft spot for the I don't remember how old it was, the relatively recent Count of Monte Cristo film with Jimmy Cavs in it, and yeah, I've always enjoyed that movie, and he's like, "I'm your man for life." It's like, I know, it's great, it's perfect. So
Yeah,
yeah, if it's not what I would call a reference, but that's certainly where it came from. Where that spot in my mind that likes that movie and in that story, full stop. Any Dumas really. Um, that's its origin for sure.
that's awesome. I like what I could pick. I'm fairly well read. I'm going to pat
Oh,
myself on the
la di
back a little
da.
bit, but it's not just comic books, damn it. But yeah, when I read things like that, it's because in the book it was actually a whole bunch of. I think he had like 5 or 6. I think it was no, it was more than the band of 5. He had a lot of people who followed him. In the
Mhm.
movie, they limited it to one. I forget who it was. I remember though I saw that movie on a cruise when I was going to Marseille, so I actually got to see Chateau d'If.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, and then I'm just like, oh, son of a gun. Then I saw the movie when I
Yeah.
got back on the cruise liner. So that was yeah, that was I remember it was because I saw the movie. That's where I remember the quote from like son of a gun. And now I gotta show the movie to my kids because I've forgotten how good that movie really was.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and Guy Pearce is always great too. He's such a great villain
Guy
because
Pearce, that's the name I was trying to remember.
you just can't beat him when he's being villainous. You just choose the scenery. And like, Luis Guzman as Jacopo, there is his guy for life. It's just great.
Yeah. It's always good. I was making the I'm well read thing because every so often I'll read. I remember I was talking to one writer. It was just on Twitter, but I remember I was like, "Hey, your series, it was really great reference to Dante Alighieri. What is it? What's the second book he did? There was for the whole Divine Comedy. He did Inferno and then Purgatorium.
Mhm.
I'm like, so great scene there. Boom, 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 boom. Six circle there. Did it? And he's like, yeah, I actually never read the book. I was like,
Yeah.
well, screw you too. Like,
Yeah.
damn. Oh well.
I
So no,
mean, there's a lot of kind of weird pattern recognition stuff going to with comics where people say, "Oh, this is obviously a reference to that." I'm like, I don't know what that is, but think that if you want, I guess.
yeah, it's good to see that you're also well read and that we're going to get a lot of this coming from you. Yeah, I actually wrote Jacopo because I had to look on the IMDb page. Okay, finally, in number 10, no spoilers here, but a little bit of a spoiler. There's a character, Rutherford Winter,
Mhm.
who I go on to look at, and you created this character, yes, in Daughters of the Dragon issue number 2. Am I right?
Yeah, me and Joy Vasquez. Actually, I have. Yeah, hang on a sec.
I'll hang on a second. Guys, again, we're talking to Jed MacKay.
I have his big intro page I got from Craig Young at Toronto Comic Con there.
Get out of town.
So yeah, Craig inked that over Joey's lines. So he had his original inks. So yeah, I got that off that. Sorry, got that off of him at the show. So it was pretty sweet.
Nice. So I bring this character up only because I didn't read Daughters of the Dragon. I know, shame on me.
I
That was a
mean,
digital release, right?
it was digital first. Yeah, it's out in
Digital
trade now.
first,
It has
yeah.
been out in trade for a few years, but I mean, not a lot of people did, so that's fine.
I'm gonna go back and read it now, though. Um, yeah, honestly, I think the only digital first stuff I read was Kelly Thompson's stuff because I was talking to her at the time. So,
Mhm. Oh, I mean,
um,
her Jessica Jones digital stuff was great.
yeah. Uh, okay, so this brings me to a question of continuity. This is
Sure,
a thing that's huge for us old folks, right? Uh, 46 years old, going up
hmm
47. Been reading comic books since I was a wee lad.
sure.
And how do you feel about continuity in the comic books, especially considering that Marvel is so ridiculously old?
I mean, here's the thing: is I like continuity, but I like it when it's useful. If it's not useful, I don't really have a lot of point for it, because people are like, oh, like I thought Waxman died in Superior Spider-Man. I'm like, well, he's Waxman. Like, maybe he did, maybe he didn't, but here he is now. Like, it doesn't matter. I'm not gonna spend a page explaining, oh, they thought they killed me in Superior Spider-Man 2 years ago, but I reformed because I made out of wax. Like, who cares? It doesn't matter. Like, if it's, as long as it's not something egregious that doesn't make any sense, I see absolutely no reason in getting super caught up on continuity. On the other hand, if it is something that's useful, and more importantly, if it's something that's fun, then great, yeah, by all means. So I think it's a tool like any other, and there's times when it's very useful, and there's times when you just kind of shoot yourself in the foot by getting too caught up in it.
How do you feel about editor's note? First off, probably one of the best answers I've heard so far. Some people are too much like, no, it's got to be precise, it's got to be accurate, and it's impossible because sometimes people get continuity wrong. So how do you blend those two together, right? I think Robert Venditti probably did it the best by combining all the different Hawkman lives into one simple explanation.
Yeah, good luck with that guy. Cheapers.
Right? And yet somehow he did it.
Yeah.
Like really, really impressive what he's done there. In this case, I think you've got to, and meanwhile, there are other people who just say, no, continuity is horrible. It's like, dude, it's a franchise. You can't say that.
Yeah.
Like you're losing fans by saying that. So I think that's a really great detailed explanation of it when it fits, when it works, when it makes sense. Boom.
Yeah.
That's probably perfect.
Because like I like pulling out little continuity, bits of fun. Like in Taskmaster, we see a look at his website, and the cover photo of his website is him with the Punisher, like a selfie, which refers back to like a Matt Rosenberg Punisher, where Taskmaster had beat up the Punisher and took a photo with him and said, "This is my new profile photo." And like, it doesn't really matter, but it's a lot of fun to kind of like say, "Oh, well, this is actually something that goes with this." But also that is also part of the reason why I like bringing up, perhaps more obscure, perhaps sometimes forgotten characters, is that there's just a lot less stuff to sift through. We've got Zodiac going here in Moon Knight. He's appeared in 5 issues total, so I can kind of do whatever I want. I'm not really that worried about him in that respect.
Federico Blees here. Hope to see you two work together soon. He's a colorist for Marvel.
Oh, okay.
What do you call it? Somebody asked, before I get into that, editor's notes. I know it's usually coming from the editor.
That's why they're called editor's notes generally.
Yeah. I love your your snark. But writers are allowed to do editor's notes also, to be fair.
Sure.
An editor's note for Rutherford Winter. Wouldn't have been prudent?
Oh, I know what you're talking. I think you meant like notes on a script.
At the very least, on the comic book to reference. I mean, and it's one of your comic books. You're increasing your own sales. If you just had a little asterisk, Rutherford Winter, showed up in Daughters of the Dragon #2, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not really that bothered with it. Thing is, that made a lot more sense before, when that was the only way people could figure things out. If someone is curious, like, who is this character? The groundwork was set back in Moon Knight #1. He was mentioned back there as one of Sturman's patients. If someone wants to know more about him, well, there's a wonderful tool called the Marvel Fandom Wiki, where I think it's more likely if someone has any interest in a character, they're just going to Google them rather than have to find the editor's note and blah, blah, blah. So I don't think it's as necessary now as it would have been, even 10 years ago, even 20 years ago. So yeah, it's funny because I haven't really thought of those editor note boxes in a long time, outside of stuff we're referring to like direct events. Because like we did do an editor's note box for Daughters of the Dragon in the Taskmaster series, because that was the last time Fury and Taskmaster had met, and we see them in a similar situation with golf courses and whatever. But it's not necessarily referring to specific events. It's just saying, like, here's a character. I don't really think we need an editor's note for, hey, here's a character. Here's the last time they appeared. Because if someone wants to find out, they can. But ultimately, for the purposes of the story, it's not terribly important.
I got you. You and I are just going to agree to disagree on that.
Yeah,
But there's
sure.
the first. There has to be something. We
Yeah,
can't be in synchronicity all throughout.
yeah, fair enough.
A lot of people in chat. A lot of people saying hi. What's up, Nerdette? How you doing? Gentle Savage asks, "What happened? What would happen if Moon Knight fought Mister Negative?"
I mean, Mr. Negative would have a very expensive dental bill, probably.
I love it. The simplicity of it. Okay. Um, that's oh geez, we've actually been talking for an hour, almost an hour now, and it doesn't feel like it at all. To me at least. Maybe
The
you're
time
bored out of your
flies, man.
mind. So, this has been great. What else do you have coming up? Here, let me ask you this.
Sure.
Independent stuff through Image Comics or anything like that. Do you have any original characters who no original characters?
No, I've almost all my work has been through Marvel. I didn't have that period where I was self-publishing or doing indie stuff. It just kind of went right into Marvel. So I don't have that indie backlog. There's stuff I would like to do. I just haven't found the time for it yet. They've been keeping me pretty busy at Marvel lately, and at Boom as well, because I'm doing the Magic comic for them.
Okay. In that one CBC article, by the way, Canadian Broadcast Company, I think it's called,
Mm-hmm.
chat. I've only been here for like 5 years, so maybe 6. But anyway, I'm a Jersey boy.
Sure.
But you can probably tell in the accent. But the oh, what was it?
We're going to Jersey next issue of Moon Knight.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, my sympathies for everybody. Actually, it's getting nicer.
Sure.
But
not in Moon Knight, I'll tell you that much.
not a moon. That's fine. That's fine. If you're going to Bayonne, whatever. But Asbury Park, where I'm from, it's gotten much nicer. So
Right.
there's that. I had I had about an hour-long conversation with Tomasi about that.
Right.
But what happens with oh, for crying out loud, and I'm forgetting what I was gonna ask you. Oh, okay.
Like CBC.
The guy who, yeah, in the article, that CBC article, you'd mentioned that it was an artist who you were working with
Mm-hmm.
who kind of brought you into Marvel. Who was that artist?
Sheldon Vella. He's an Australian artist. We came up when we were younger on the same message board in the early going on through the mid 2000s. And I had a script rolling around, and he was looking for something to draw. So I was like, "Hey, why don't we do this together?" So that's what we did. So yeah, we made some comics together for a bit through the mid 2000s. He was doing the convention scene and really getting out there to like network and meet people. And Marvel brought him in to do some short stuff. He did a little run on Deadpool, and he did some shorts. And they brought him in for this X-Men Serve and Protect thing, where it was an X-Men character teaming up with a non-X-Men character. And he realized he had no idea who any of the characters were. So he brought me in to write it for him because we worked together. We had a lot of fun doing that. And that was my first Marvel job.
Okay. Who's your favorite character in comic books? Who's your favorite character in Marvel specifically? And what's your dream character to write for? And then I'm going to kick you out. I mean, let you go.
Oh man, that's tough. Favorite comics character. I mean, I have a tough time with favorites because it's tough to narrow everything down. I'm just like looking at my bookshelf right now and trying to figure out who I'm going to pick. Yeah, like I don't know if I can pick a favorite comics character in general.
Is that mostly Marvel?
No, it's mostly unrelated. It's mostly like Image and associated stuff through there. But I've got my Marvel stuff, got my DC stuff. Yeah, favorite Marvel character. I think it's probably got to be Black Cat. I had such a great time writing Felicia.
But that's recent, right?
Oh, sure.
That's a recent top pick, right?
Yeah. I mean, before I started writing Black Cat, I really had no opinion on the character. But as you work with these characters, you really develop, affection for them because, well, A, they're paying your rent, but B, you spend so much time in the headspace of these characters that it's, you just kind of, and also you're creating these characters too, creating their actions and their thoughts. So eventually there's just going to be people that you like because that's how you write them. Well, not always. But yeah, Taskmaster as well. I really love. I'd love to have another go at Taskmaster. And then of course there's my sweet babies, Alpha Flight. Those poor Canadian superhero team.
It's all the Canadians, but every single Canadian writer I say or I talk to is like, I really want to write Alpha Flight. I really want to write Alpha Flight. Jim Zub told me, he says, he says Al Ewing, who's not even Canadian, but it's Commonwealth, so I guess it counts because he's British. He's like, that son of a gun. He just decided to start writing it and didn't ask anybody. And they're like, oh yeah, sure, go ahead. In his Immortal Hulk. It's like, that's what we've got to do from now on. Just start writing. Don't ask.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing that I'll have just like have Guardian show up in Moon Knight.
Just to have Guardian show up. You could have Puck show up. I wouldn't be.
I could.
That.
I mean, Puck is my favorite Elfin, and
you might notice my one shelf completely dedicated to him up there.
Yeah, no, I see them. And no, I love Elflight. And part of the thing is they're just such underdogs. Like they can't sell a book to save their lives. Bless them. I was very, very lucky to get to do one of the stories in the. I mean, they do fairly well in Canada. In the U.S., not so much. I was very lucky to have a story in that one shot that came out a couple of years ago, which was the first new Alpha Flight we've had since I think the series that Greg Pak wrote back in like 2010, 2011, something like that. So yeah, who knows? Someday maybe that brass ring will come around again.
So that's the character you really, or that's the book that you really want to write is Alpha Flight at some point.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I don't even know what I would do with it, but I just want to write it. But like, there's other characters as well. Like, I'd love to do like Mockingbird series.
Oh man, I've got Amy Tan. I bought the original from her over here.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And a little crack with like Dazzler sometimes. I think Dazzler's a great character. And but ultimately, I can generally find something interesting, exciting about almost any character for the most part. So, yeah.
So fluid tastes. All right.
Yeah, I mean that's how you stay employed, right? If someone says you want to write this book, generally you say yes. You don't say, can I have this character instead? Yeah.
You've got a very Taoist mentality, like there's you're talking about staying employed, you're talking about making money. Meanwhile, you're talking about the love for the characters and whatnot. I can't find any way to really go in it except for the editor's notes. I can't find any way to kind of like, break that bubble that you've got. You seem very balanced in your yin yang. So,
well, I'm in a very fortunate spot in my life in that, there was a period of time when I gave up on comics entirely, where I was like, I'll never really make any money off this. I'll never really, get stuff made. And I was just, working on writing prose and, teaching, being a teacher. And the fact that over the last 3 years, I went from, last, let's say 4 years or so, I went from teaching full time to teaching and writing part time to now writing full time, and enjoying a very fortunate amount of success at it. That I really don't have a lot to complain about.
Nice. Okay, you're on Facebook, right?
I am, yes.
I think I sent you a friend request. If you happen to see DeBill anywhere, just I'm saying.
Well, I usually, Facebook is usually just for my personal stuff. So
never mind then. Ignore me.
I probably will, but you're not alone. It's mainly how I keep track of my cousins.
No worries. Okay. Thank you so much for this time.
No
I usually say good luck. I look forward to reading more of your books, but no, I really can't foresee you having a problem going to those next tiers, whatever short-term, long-term goals you've got. I see you achieving them all.
I hope so, but thank you.
No worries. All right. Take it easy. Guys, Professor Bill and Jed MacKay, Comic Book University, class dismissed.